That sounds like a really good party down the street.
Notification just came through. You're live.
All right, guys, we are live. And like I was telling you before, man, there is a party down the road. All right.
You should be at the party.
I know, right? Okay. I want that one up. Okay. So yeah, I'm getting the hang of this. We're getting better. All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to another episode of GreyBeard Talks To. I'm your host, GreyBeard. Tonight I have a couple of wonderful people joining me tonight. I have Brent and Michele from the Wyrd Brothers Viking group. They are out of Central Florida. Before we get too involved in a really good conversation with those folks tonight, I'm going to go over some housekeeping stuff. Starting off, number one, if you were viewing this, I would need you to check out my YouTube channel. It is really cool, and I'm really excited about it. It's called GreyBeard Talks To. Just give me a like and a share. Go ahead and send me comments, but please be nice. I'm a fragile individual, fragile Viking, so be nice. With that being said, let's get into the real housekeeping issues that we got for tonight. So I want to start off with a couple things. Number one, next week, time change. And this is a 1 week time change. This will not become the norm, but there's something kind of special going on next week. So instead of doing a 7 o'clock show, we're actually going to do a 4 p.m. show. I'm not going to tell you why. You're going to have to tune in and you're going to have to find out why. But take note, 4 o'clock next Saturday, not 7. The next item of business, Hugs for Patty. Vikings Con this year, November 7th, November 8th. Patrick J. Kelly is going to be running around the Charles County Fairgrounds like he has for the past 2 years. And I promise you, those who were there last year who saw him in the weird, bearded, crazy hair thing, I've found it. I've burned it. It is gone. He's actually coming as Patrick J. Kelly this time, I promise. But what he is doing what we're calling Hugs for Patty. It is a $5 hug that you get from this gentleman, and he gives you a very beautiful Irish blessing along with it. The proceeds for his hugs and his blessing go to the Children's Aid Society, which is the sign right here behind me. These guys are located in Waldorf, Maryland. They're very, very local to the fairgrounds. They do a lot of wonderful charity work for the community. And yes, I have my little host who likes to hug the camera. I got an opportunity to tour their facility a few weeks ago, and these folks are top notch. They do a lot of different things for kids, infants. They take food, they take clothing. So they're always giving back to the community. They do all the way up to teenagers. Their biggest thing that they're actually prepping for right now is school supplies. The school season is going to be starting up here in the next few months. And if you guys have anything you want to donate to, again, the Children's Aid Society, they're really going to be needing some school supplies here really soon. Again, their website is children'saidsociety.org. Check them out. And like I said, they do really good stuff. So the third thing I want to get into, and this is about our giveaway. Every week we do a giveaway. This week we're doing a bit of a special giveaway, and this could be the only time that we actually do this particular giveaway. In order to enter the win, you got to go ahead and make a comment in the comment section below. So tonight, yeah, do I really? Yeah, I guess I'm going to say this. I'm going to do this. This is really, really cool. How I got the approval to do this from my staff is a little bit beyond me, but I'm going to be making this up. You're going to have the opportunity to win a prize, which is one free pass to have your picture taken with our very own shield maiden, Marta from Sparta. You'll also be able to get her autograph. This is kind of a one-time type of deal. So she's going to be able to, you can find Marta in the GreyBeard's Long Court. She's going to be hanging out with us all weekend. She's going to be doing Shield Maiden demonstrations. She's actually going to be teaching a class. We've got 2 classes on Saturday, 1 class on Sunday, possibly, quite possibly, a 4th if there's enough people who would like to sign up. She's going to be teaching the theatrical combat style that was taught to her for the show Vikings that airs on the History Channel. The cool thing about this, she has been in every single battle scene since season 4. If you get the opportunity, look her up on Instagram. She goes by Marta from Sparta. She is a true badass warrior. Michele, I don't know if you had an opportunity to check her out, but she actually does medieval combat, which is something that we're going to discuss a little bit later on, because that's something that you guys do. So there's all my housekeeping issues. And as per everybody tells me, with that being said, let's move into and let's get into actually having a good conversation with my guests tonight. The Wyrd Brothers, again, from Central Florida. Brent, Michele, thank you so much for joining me.
How to change the picture.
We're very happy to be here.
Thank you. And apparently my production staff is screaming at me to change the photo, but I wanted people to see your stuff. So while I'm changing photos around here and doing this sorts of things, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you guys are and what it is that you do.
Well, we are a production company, but we primarily focus on Viking age reenactment. Wow, I really just lost my brain. We started doing this
hang on. We have your website right here.
Okay.
Yeah, just read it. Ta-da. Look, you can just read it right off the thing.
We've been doing Viking age reenactment for about 8 years, hardcore. Before that, Brent, who has been doing stage combat and medieval and Renaissance festivals for over 20 years.
Since 1992.
1992, and is quite well known in this region. He's got a lot of background in stage combat, but we ended up focusing on the Viking Age era because of his primary interest in a lot of the Viking Age culture and history, especially because Vikings started as a TV show and raised a lot of awareness about the Viking history. And as a result, and this is something that we say when we do one of our education presentations as well, is that because of this show, a lot of more funding, a lot more interest came into examining some of the dig sites, a lot of things that were really kind of stuffed in the back of museums, re-examined with new technology. And in this time, since we've been doing specifically Viking Age stuff, there's new things coming out every day, and it really keeps the history and the knowledge fascination at a high level. We were guests at Vikings Cons last year, and we had a great time with that. We've done festivals here in this area with the Sarasota Medieval Festival, had a big camp there. We've done Bay Area Renaissance Festival 5 years?
4 years now.
4 years now.
And as Vikings.
As Vikings. And
27 years as a cast member, part of the production staff, or whatever else.
About 3 years ago, we had a librarian walk into our camp and got us involved in doing actual library educational presentations, which unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, we had like 8 of them scheduled this summer, and had to cancel those. So we like to do a lot of education. We like to do things that are fun, like go to Vikings Con, but we also do.
Well, speaking of fun things, I have some photos, and we're going to get to those in a minute. But I understand that you had a Viking hunt at the local IKEA. and I understand that there was
We had a raid there. Yeah.
Yes, we did a raid. Mhm.
yeah.
We
I
do.
heard that
some of
a
the-
computer may have been I don't know,
Nope.
you know, I'm trying to choose my words carefully.
It's all lies. It's all lies.
Yeah, it's all
It's all rumors. Yep.
But we've done a lot of fun events, such as raiding IKEA in garb,
Mhm.
and do little plateaus in some of the
Tableau. I think. is the word
tableau
I'm
is the
looking
word
for.
I'm looking for, in some of the scenes that they have set up. We have a lot of fun with it, and of course it gets us a lot of marketing.
Uh-oh.
Mhm.
There we go.
We've also done a couple of mead halls locally here, where we all show up in garb, have a good time, drink a lot of mead. I did not get all of the mead. I
You drank
promise.
all the
I
mead
did
one
not.
time.
One,
Yes, you did.
one time.
Okay, so when you were saying all lies earlier, I would be inclined to believe, Michele, that you're doing that now. You know, the whole line that you didn't drink all the mead, I find that very believable.
Hey, mead lives
Exactly.
forever.
Forever.
Your shirt, yes, I find I would imagine that you were the one that was drinking all the mead.
Well, there was about 25 of us there, so.
Yeah, I just happened to get the last drop.
Mhm.
That's my
That's the
story. and
most
I'm sticking
important,
to it.
right?
But to make it up, one of our local meaderies here in Florida, Royal Manor Meadery, actually made a mead and put us on the label.
It's the best you'll ever have.
It is good. It
It's
is really, really good.
Really good.
So it's so we had some stuff last year. Was
Yes.
that what was brought up?
No.
He hadn't
no.
really.
It was different.
That hadn't been
Okay.
around yet.
I remember talking to Jim Davis, and Jim was telling us that they were going to take your pictures and they were going to go ahead and bottle it and throw it on a bottle. So that's actually really kind of cool. I mean,
It is kinda cool.
That's really neat.
And it also got us involved with Joe's Mead Festival, which last year was his first Mead Festival, and we brought a Viking camp there. And this year it's Mead Festival and Valhalloween. So
Okay.
in the middle of October, before Vikings Con. So
Very cool.
we'll pick up another case and
Yeah.
we'll bring you a gift.
Hey, I'm looking forward to that. I like that, especially the ones that have the meat in it. Those are great. So let's go back to the beginning. So how did you guys get started? I mean, how did you come up with the idea? So let me backtrack real quick. Brent, when I met you 3 years ago, I think, and we were having a good conversation at the
At the Bay Area Renaissance Festival.
Thank you, at the Bay Area Renaissance Festival. That's a really nice picture. I'm going to get off of that one. I'd rather look at your group. So anyway,
We can't see the picture, so we're like, oh Lord, what did he
okay.
do?
Well, you're going to see it in a second. If
Oh, yes, we've been known to raid the local blueberry festival in gear as well.
We do a lot of social gatherings that are not just our members, but are our fans and our followers. So these events are out in the world, so they can come participate and rub elbows, meet us, talk to us, whatever. We one of our main things is we have theatrical personas also. We're not just Michele and Brent and Garb. We all have a theatrical persona that we portray. Some of us are from history, some of us are not, because not everybody was written about in history.
Sure.
And that kind of segues into how we started. I've been doing the theatrical side of festivals, whether it be medieval fairs, Renaissance festivals, pirate festivals, and then Viking festivals. Now that I've come to settle on, mostly because of the interest of the weapons and warfare.
Mm-hmm.
I was an Axis and Allies baby and chess and all that stuff when I was a kid. So I've always been into the tactical warfare and things of that nature. And back in 1990, I met a gentleman who was a custom knife maker. And he was also a part of a small stage combat group in the Sarasota area called the Goblins Guild. And he introduced me into the world of stage combat and stage making swords. So I made a couple of swords and I joined in with their group. And then I did the medieval fair here in Sarasota. Back in '92 was my first season. and I've been hooked ever since. And then from there, I went to a stunt school. I've done a bunch of different other shows. I went on the road for a fair season and did some shows out across the United States and met a lot of people. And then I got old, so I had to settle down a bit. And about 12 years ago, some friends of mine and I, we are like-minded in the Norse heathenry, and so from the spiritual nature of it, and we started this Yule festival, kind of that, you know, it's not open to the public, but it's open to our friends and family and like-minded members, and that's been going on for I guess this would be our 13th season. We had to cancel last year due to weather. We're probably gonna have to cancel this year too. 13 is never good. So
yeah, that's true. 13 is never good.
And it just kind of snowballed from there. I got a phone call from a friend of mine who was a leathersmith that would have done the festival, but he had moved out of the state, and he's like, Brent, I need you to go do this Viking thing for these people. And then we just, you know, and that was 8 years ago or whatever it was. And we just have been full steam ahead
Ever since.
right in the Viking age. You know, it started out as a little hobby, and now it's a job. And
it's funny how that works. I find myself following in your footsteps. It's again, when I came down to meet you for the first time, you know, it was just a hobby. It was, hey, we got this cool thing that we're just a part of, and we're just trying to help out. And now I'm sitting here, you know, interviewing and, you know, being serious about it. So it gets into you. It's a good thing.
We're getting ready to launch our online store this year, and we're gonna formal bylaws and membership of our group and our crafting guilds, which are going to be huge. You know, it's turning into a full-fledged community. Yeah, it's very community oriented. We're very lucky in the area.
So let's talk about the crafting guilds really quickly. We were talking earlier, and you have a oh, there it is. You have your own blacksmith in your guild. Why don't you go ahead and let's talk about your blacksmith. Let's go ahead and kind of give your blacksmith a little bit of love. Again, with this whole COVID thing, we all know a lot of folks are really kind of hurting, and a lot of people are really kind of. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, or as everybody, or as my favorite saying is, with that being said, let me go ahead and hand it over to you guys. Go ahead and let's hear about your blacksmith that you guys have.
Well, Hammered Heathen is one of our charter members. His name is Jeremy Thomas. Is his last name's Thomas, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't ever call him by his whole name, so I have to remember that. He started out with us. Wow. Yeah, from the beginning of the roots of our group. I personally, Michele wasn't even around before. She was around a year before Jeremy, I think. And then he started into, when you come into our group, your first thing that you figure out is what your job is going to be. And that's, and then from the job, your theatrical character is built. And then from there, you progress through the actual rankings of our group. Jeremy has always had a mind for being a tinkerer and things of that nature, and he just pushed on to the blacksmithing thing. And over the last 5 years, he's come a long way. I keep trying to keep him the reins on him a little bit, so he stays crude and Viking age, and he's keeping it, I think, to what a middle class Viking age blacksmith would
We're looking at some of his work, and I'm not sure if you can see the pictures or not, but I got a couple of knives that the photos that you guys had sent me. It looks fantastic. I mean, it looks like he does really, really terrific work.
And he does all of this from a small forge in his backyard.
He's actually got two forges.
Oh, that's right. He got a new one.
He has a gas forge that does smaller parts in, but he's real fond of. He has a coal and charcoal forge that he does the majority of his work in. He's really goes out of his way to try to, with a modern means, because a medieval bellows and things of that nature are actually really hard to come by and build, and then he needs an extra person to run them. So he's modernized his forging a bit, with I think he uses an old vacuum as an air source so he can keep his temperatures high. Wow. But all the hammering and everything else he does, he it's all manpower.
That's fantastic.
He's come a long way, and he's just started into beading also. He's not producing the beads yet, but he does make some really interesting beaded jewelries and things of that nature also.
All right, so real quickly, go ahead and give us his contact information. So if anybody that's watching, you can see the photos. He does beautiful work. It looks really awesome. Where can we get in touch with him? How can we find him?
Right, you can find him on Facebook at The Hammered Heathen, all together, or you can send a note to his email, thehammeredheathen@gmail.com. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I do know that every month he makes a piece and has a little auction and has a little thing. So he makes custom pieces for people, and he makes I think a piece a month that he kind of auctions off, and I believe all the proceeds of the auction go to a charity, not to him. So he's got a new baby. I think their daughter is 3 years old now.
She's gonna be 4.
I think she just turned 4 actually in May. So they have a small child now. They've got their new home.
Congratulations to them. That's great. I love that.
He's a younger guy, and he and Laurel are established. It's really good.
So I just want to remind everybody that that's watching and listening. We are live, and every time we do live and I'm at home, we generally get some sort of background noise. And at 7:30 at night, somebody has decided that it's a great time to start up and test their chainsaw.
We can't hear it.
We can't hear it.
Oh, okay, good.
We can't hear it.
My neighbors are crazy. So anyway, let's stay on the topic of crafting and forging, because I know there's other folks within your group that you guys have your own thing. I mean, again, you guys have created your own village, and you guys, your people operate, they work, they handcraft everything. So let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, we have 10 guilds that we're going to start. We have, and under all of those guilds are kind of like sub guilds that are going to spring out. We have a blacksmithing guild, a leather making guild, a textiles guild, a cultural guild, a scalding guild. What else? Food.
Yep.
Food and farming.
Food, farming, and foraging.
Foraging, and then we have hunting and fishing and things of that nature under there. I'm drawing a blank on the rest of them right now, but
we have a lot of people in these areas, and we're formalizing it. We have not only Jeremy as a blacksmith, we have a couple more people who are learning blacksmithing, some who are learning how to make jewelries. We have a couple of people that do some of those incredible card weaving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I decided, because I grow a garden and food and herbs, I was going, ooh, what colors will these make? So I like to make all the pretty colors and give it to the weavers so they can make pretty stuff with it. We've got leather workers. We've got wood workers. I mean, and so, we don't make everything in our camp, but we're trying to learn how it could have been made and be able to demonstrate how it was made as an educational venue. So we have a lot, and so many different people who are interested in doing so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the only thing that on the majority of our kits that we don't make is we don't make our shoes. Shoes are very difficult to make. We do have 2 people that make shoes, but they don't make all of our shoes for our group.
Not yet.
Right.
Not yet.
Not yet. Working on that one.
And then,
So Michele, if I understand right, you dye, correct? You dye wool and cotton.
Wool and linen.
Linen. We
and
don't use
silk.
any
Okay,
cotton.
We
wool
don't
and
use any
linen.
cotton. Yep.
I'll let you talk about that. Excuse me 1 second.
Sure. No worries. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I got really interested because, we were looking into more of the historical factor of what color of garments would have been available. And of course, there's, some digs, there's some historical evidence. There's a lot more medieval dyeing evidence than in the Viking Age history.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, what kind of plants would they have used to get these? So I got really fascinated. Yes, I failed chemistry twice in college. But this became fascination for me. And I got the Jenny Dean Book of Colors and went and found not only some live plants, but I did a quick run of 10 different colors. I said, I'm gonna start with 10 different products. But then I was like, ooh, I was cutting up beets one night and I said, ooh, beet, that's a nice color on my fingers. I wonder what that'll do. So I kind of got off tangent, but it was really fascinating. We were planning to do another big dye run. We did sort of a blog, a humorous blog, because I made a lot of mistakes. Yeah. But it was really interesting. And so the next run, we're going to do some additional with different mordants. Some of the colors turned out great. Some turned out tan. I was going for green. I got tan.
I think all of your colors actually came out what you thought they were. They just changed versus wool and linen, and then versus the time that they were in the actual color. So it's a very interesting study.
It was very interesting. I'm still very fascinated by it.
So let me ask you this. One of the colors that always seems to be
black. He's
debated,
gonna say black.
You know exactly what I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Because a lot of where in the circles that we all kind of travel around in, you always get that question. You always hear that from people who are interested. So what is it that you found through your study? I mean, is black a legitimate color that the Vikings maybe later on were able to produce, or?
Well, firstly we have to examine the actual color of black. Well, black is not a color. Okay.
Correct. It's the absence of color.
Black is only made in a modern means. There historically is no black. Historically, the only colors that come close to black are indigo. Mm-hmm. And indigo is not prevalent in Viking culture until
later age,
960, 980, when they start going to not just raiding the Mediterranean, when they start trading in the Mediterranean.
Right.
Now, so one of our main things is no black leather, because black leather looks black. Now, Michele has made blue dye or purple dye.
Purplish.
We have not tried the indigo thing yet, because we're still trying to find a source for true indigo that is not the ink that is used in today's dyeing.
That, and I want to find the plants.
And we want to find the plants and extract it ourselves.
But and then that's the point. You can get a lot of colors together that will make it really, really, really dark gray, almost a brownish dark gray, even a slightly bluish. You can use some cochineal shells to get a little bit of a blue out of it, but it's not the true black that we in modern times know.
Now black-haired animals, because they did have black sheep and they had bovines with black hair, you could make clothing out of black animal hair, but if you really look at black animal hair, it's not black either.
Right.
It's really, really dark brown, or a really, really dark, dirty gray. So
right, but the idea of the actual creating the dye to be black just wasn't, like as you said before, that's a modern day color mix.
Our color of black, exactly.
Right.
The closest you might get to is using a paint with ash, black ash and charcoal, but it's not color fast.
Yeah, it doesn't color stay.
It doesn't stay. As soon as the sun hits it or it gets wet, it it leaches out very quickly.
So as I was scrolling through some of the pictures that I have on the screen, I was showing some of the dyed yarns. I came across some of the combat photos.
Yep.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And some of the training photos. So not that the previous portion of the conversation wasn't entertaining enough, but this one is really going to be entertaining because I'm looking at a piece of chainmail that is either rusted,
I think
bloodstained, and I would go with the blood staining.
No, that's my personal riveted mail that anybody that has worn chainmail knows wherever it touches your skin, it rusts.
Yeah.
So, and that the rust on the top of it was from me picking it up because it is not fitted to my arm. It's actually not a good.
He kept touching it.
I kept touching it with sweaty hands and put it away without cleaning it, and then there you go. You know, rust never sleeps. That's that. I was taught that about 30 years ago from my first sword master, and you know, his whole thing was first you learn how to clean the sword before you learn how to clean the sword.
Right.
So
So going back to the dynamics of your group, when you set up at Vikings Con with us last year, one of the things I do want to mention is what you guys do is utterly fantastic. You allow folks to come in, you allow folks to actually walk through the fighting ring that you set up. You let them touch it, you let them hold it. You know, you do such a wonderful job with that it's noteworthy, because a lot of places that we go to and a lot of places that we've been and seen, you know, you can't really get yourself that immersed into it where people are kind of like, that's my personal stuff, hands off, don't touch. But you guys are just like, hey, you know, here it is. Feel the weight of this. You know, these guys are swinging these things that are, you know, 10, 15 pounds. They're wearing 30 pounds of extra metal. They got a 5-10 pound helm on, you know, and you guys are just like, oh yeah, here, have fun with it. You know, just don't cut yourself. And we find out that's fantastic. And it's awesome that you guys do that.
We give pointy objects to children too.
yeah,
I did notice that. And, you know, I can't say how great that is. There's not enough, you know, parents in the world who actually will do that. You know, I think it's something that needs to be done.
Yeah, one of our main things was to be a hands-on museum. You know, we want people, when they come into our environment, no matter where it is, if they want to, you know, at the store or at the textiles booth or in the games, you know, we have a lot of games that we run, and we want you to play. It's not about watching. We don't want you to watch us do much of anything, honestly.
So I have a question. What did this computer do to you?
This computer.
See the picture I have up on the screen?
Let me look.
Oh.
I'm just wondering what this computer did. You know, I'm filtering through these pictures and it's like, oh wow, okay. You know,
that was IKEA.
That was our IKEA raid, and I don't even remember that picture. That was just one of our, you know, we stopped and did some things, and there we go.
Oh, yeah, we were having dinner.
We were having a mock dinner. We go there. We used to go there once a month on a random day to actually eat dinner because we like their food. And then after dinner, we all just walk through the store and kind of browse and talk, and the people you can, if you've never been to an IKEA, you don't know all of the little hidey places that they have, but you can see when there's Vikings going through IKEA, you can see all of the members of the store coming out of their little hidey places to watch us. And they've never said anything but positive comments. We've never been asked to leave. They've never approached us for
pictures,
for anything other than pictures, honestly.
That's great.
Yeah, you know, we like going there. The one here, you know, I've never been to an IKEA elsewhere in the world, so I don't know if it's the same experience. I can only imagine that it is, because it's pretty modular. I mean, that's their whole thing, is to modular everything, and we just have a good time there, and it's close by, and it's Vikings.
So this, I'm taking it, this is one of the teaching sessions. This is probably at one of your local libraries that you go to.
That was a children's event we actually did at a library.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of that library right now, but that was one of our best presentations that we did. Oh, that was Safety Harbor.
Yeah, that was Safety Harbor.
That was the Safety Harbor one. When we actually had the kids paint shields, and they made little penguins or puffins,
and they beaded.
They made beaded jewelry and stuff like that, and we did a very brief version of our Viking history for them, so they knew a little bit about who we were, why we were, and what we were.
So one of the questions that I have when I'm looking at the picture, given today's society, how was the reaction with the children and the parents when they actually saw the fur, the actual real furs? Because again, we have real furs, and we've done some stuff, and we've had a lot of kids come up and like, oh wow, this is really cool. But then we've also had a couple parents come up and kind of, give us that look like, how dare you type of thing. So
we have never had anybody come into our encampment or at one of our presentations that has said anything negative about fur, or about Viking culture or anything like that. We make no apologies for what the Vikings did. They were a brutal people at times, and they were very vicious people at times, but they were very loving people. They were very community oriented, and history is written by the victors, not the oppressed. So, and if you read the Viking saga and any of the Viking age, translation, they didn't oppress their people. They took slaves or thralls into their community, but you could become a free person in their community. And and there's historical accounts of kings that have come into the Viking culture from other cultures. So it's a very, and that's one of the things that I think, really captured me, other than the combat. Cause I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm like 90% combat.
Yeah.
Because that's where my expertise lies and what interests me the most. But when we do our presentation, we're only like 5% combat, and it's like 95% history and
right.
5%.
So speaking of combat, sticking with the combat theme, what I've got up on the screen right now, I've got a picture. It's a bunch of helms and a bunch of mail. Why don't you go ahead and explain the actual weight of this equipment that the guys are wearing?
Okay, yeah, that's our on deck accompaniment of helmets and chainmail. And you back in the back, you can see a shield and some swords and our axes and there's spears and staves and things. Now the weight of the chainmail changes depend on the type of chainmail. You have butted chainmail and you have riveted chainmail. The butted chainmail is actually heavier because the extrusion of the wire that they use to make the chainmail needs to be thicker to be strong. Now the butt and what I mean by butted is the two ends are just butted together. They're not overlapped and there's no rivet that goes through them. So the riveted mail is actually, they make that two different ways. They can do it with extruded wire, and then they flatten the ends and bend them over and put the rivet through it, or it can be punched out like flat rivets, and then they use the other ones to link them together. The basic weight depends upon the person that wears it, because the shirts, obviously a larger person is going to need more coverage. But from the weights that we have, a butted chainmail shirt for a normal 5'8", 160 to 180 pound guy starts at between 22 and 25 pounds. And then we have a couple of large guys that have large chainmail on, and their chainmail goes up to one guy's is 27 and the other guy's is 29. Now that's just the shirt.
Wow, yeah. That's quite a bit of weight. And then you have your shield, you still got your sword, and then you got a helm.
And
So
the
these
helms,
guys are,
the helms run depending on the size of the helm. You know, we have 3 different size helms, and we also have 3 different grades of helms. And the grade of helm is the thickness of the metal that it's made out of. You have 14 gauge, 16 gauge, and 12 gauge helmets. And a 12 gauge helmet with a full chainmail, aventail, or curtain on it is about 11 pounds.
And he's not even talking about everything that you wear under it.
Yeah, and that doesn't even count your clothes and
Exactly.
and everything else. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a good workout. When you do your training, it's a good workout.
Yeah. A lot of these guys that do this really have to be in some pretty good shape, and I know they've got to be pretty healthy. So
Well, one thing that's interesting about chainmail, because I've worn like plate mail also for some medieval shows.
Uh-huh.
It hangs on you much different than chainmail does. You know, chainmail, it seems like, well, it's all going to hang from your shoulders. Well, it really doesn't. If it's fitted to you right, it hangs on your entire surface area that it touches. So once you get into it,
It's distributed.
yeah, the weight distribution is way different than like plate mail. You know, I've got a full suit of Gothic German plate mail, and it's 92 pounds with all. I mean, that's with all the pieces, with the chainmail and everything. So it's really heavy.
yeah.
So I used to wear about half of that because it's way too much equipment for doing stage combat fights.
Right.
So I wear about 40 pounds of it.
Yeah, and that's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's still quite a bit.
There's
So-
there's a fight picture from your show last year.
Yes.
Yep. We emphasize the shield style fighting style more than the open weapon or non-shielded fighting. So our technique is based on using the shield as a weapon, not as a means of defense mostly, and we go from there.
So not only do you fight, you also teach and you also train. And again, I want everybody that is watching this to understand that when your guys are in the ring, it's not scripted. This is not staged.
No.
I mean, these guys are swinging and they're really, really going after each other.
Yeah, we have 2 different styles. We have the stage style, but the majority of the people in this group, I've removed that from their vocabulary pretty much, and I've taught them an open, they would call it I guess a Western style from the other groups, not the Eastern style. The Eastern style is a lot harder and it's a lot more gear. The Western style is basically to a touch type of system for points, and it's based around the shield.
So I guess when I can't find Marta when she comes over, I guess the first place I need to go look is your camp, because I've got a feeling she's going to be trying to get in with
that would be cool. I would like to pick her brain.
Yeah,
I've worked on some small films. I've never worked on a large film, so I would like to know what the difference is. I'd like to do a workshop with her, you know, one-on-one, so I can show her what we do for the combat in the round versus combat on the stage.
I think we might be able to accommodate that. We might be able to make some time. So I do have a question though. A lot of people are actually chiming in on the Facebook here and asking some questions.
Sure.
One of the questions that we just got was the blades. Is it a steel blade?
Yeah, we now in that picture there, we have a woman in the purple that is using a polypropylene weapon. We try to start out everybody with either wood or poly, and then we move them to the steel swords. But they are stage grade steel blades. They're not sharp. They're not, you know, sharp swords that were dulled. because that's a different grade of weapon. They are, we primarily use the spring steel made stage blades for our combat.
Any serious injuries?
Another question that we got, people were wondering, have you come across anybody getting any kind of serious injuries during your training and your combat sessions?
Well, unfortunately, this is what
I hit myself in my head with my shield. It was pretty tragic, but we have had.
Forgive me for laughing, but
one of our main things is it's not if, it's when. You're going, you know, it's a contact sport. You know, stage combat, historical fencing, all of it. You know, the majority of people, as soon as they get into our shield fighting, end up hitting themselves with their shield right above their eye, and that's the first cut that they get. And then the second cut they get is on their hand where they hold the shield because of wear. So that's how I can look at somebody and tell if they're a true shield fighter or not, because if they don't have that callus or that scar there, that they're not using their shield correctly. But it's like, yeah, it's not an if, it's a when.
It's a win. The other thing that I love that you guys do is you're not all about sword.
No,
I've talked to a lot of other groups and oh yeah, we fight, and then it's kind of like, all right, so do you do spear work? And they're like, oh no, we do sword only. But you guys don't. I mean, you guys do spear as well, which is fantastic, which is a little bit different than most.
Yeah, we have we do spear, we do the whole range of axes, because there's a lot of different type of axe fighting. You know, there's axe and knife fighting, there's axe and sword fighting, there's axe and shield fighting, and then there's all types of different axes. You know, we have a Dane axe program, which is the long handled two-handed axes.
Right.
I try to go through all of the Viking Age weapons. We were actually just the last 6 or 7 weeks doing staff and spear training with our people. We had an interest to learn more, so we just went through.
Well, there's going to come a time where I'm actually going to reach out to you and contact you and see if I can come down and participate in some of your spear training.
Would love it.
The spear for me is close to my heart. I used to do martial arts, and I did a Chinese martial art, and I learned a plum flower long staff form, and it's a beautiful form. And I fell in love with staff, and I'd love to learn more spear work, because around here in Maryland we just don't have much of it. There's not a lot of places that you can learn, but yeah, so look forward to when the COVID and everything is done and passed. You're gonna get a guest for a couple of days, so I can have a crash course and learn something for the fun of it.
Well, honestly, what I would really like to do is if you have an interest in your group to learn it, I would rather come to you guys and teach you guys on a weekend or something, so that you guys can practice it.
All of you can do it.
So you can all learn it together. And then I can do some one-on-one stuff with you.
Oh, but wait, he wants to come down and
I know.
Disney
Sure
too.
He does. He wants to come to Florida, and that's great. And you know, either way is fine.
You got it now, Michele.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. We'll definitely have to get set up. So we did have another question. What was the other question?
Yeah.
Archery.
So do you guys teach archery as well, or is that you do?
I was the archer from a prior instance, and so I was the first one to start doing the archery, and we haven't necessarily 100% taught it, but we do have 3 members now who are practicing more, and that is one of the next areas that we want to get into more, of not only teaching it, but learning how to make the bows, how to make the arrows, how to fletch them, you know, the whole process of getting to it.
Yeah,
so
we actually have 9 people in our group that have supplies now. So
So not teaching it yet. We've been training and practicing it ourselves from having learned it a long time ago.
The hardest thing is about archery is we don't have a space to teach it in yet.
Yeah.
We can't do it at our regular park because it's a public park, and you know, stray arrows. But if we can find a venue, we'll do more. We'll do more actually teaching about it. We only get to do it a couple times when we go up to Georgia because it's a 100-acre farm, and then we get to do a little bit more shooting.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we're starting to run out of time here, and I've still got to do the giveaway.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask you two to hang on for a little bit. Let me finish things up here, and then we'll talk a little bit afterwards. But I do want to thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great conversation. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you really taking the time out and helping us out and going through some of this. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick a number. Actually, you know what, Michele? I'm going to ask you to pick a number between, what do we got?
20.
1 and 20.
12.
12.
Jen Jones.
Jen Jones. Congratulations to you, Jen Jones. You are our prize winner for tonight. What the prize is, again, it's an opportunity for you to get a free pass. Well, it's not an opportunity. It's now yours. You get a free pass to meet Marta from Sparta, have your photo taken with her, and also get her autograph. And that's courtesy of GreyBeard. And again, you can find her in GreyBeard's Longport. So congratulations to you. And again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Okay, my production staff is doing some stuff here. That's a good picture. But
They're producing. They're doing their job.
It's been a blast. And there's one more thing I do want to see if I can get posted up here before I sign all the way off.
Uh-oh.
So again, for everybody that's watching, check out these sites. You know, these guys are really, really fantastic people. They do a lot of really good work. They do a lot of charity work down in Florida. I'm honored that they came up to VikingsCon last year. We're really looking forward to doing it again this year. It was a lot of fun. So again, with all of that being said, I'm GreyBeard the Viking. Thank you for joining us tonight. And you guys have a safe and wonderful evening.
Meat is forever.
Meat is forever.